Oh, okay, great.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
All right, well, I would like to call to order the South Burlington City Council meeting of Monday, August 7th, 2023, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item is instructions on exiting the building.
Great. Thank you to those who are joining us in person. If there is an emergency in the room, you can go out to either side of the rear of the auditorium, to the left or right, and then go left or right out of those doors to get out of the building. For those participating remotely, thank you for joining us. If you are interested in speaking on an item on the agenda or during public comment, please feel free to turn your cameras on and the chair will call on you, or you can indicate you would like to speak in the chat and I will have the chair call on you. Other than that, we are not monitoring the chat for content.
Thank you. Okay, item 3 is agenda review. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes in the order of agenda?
I'd like to add on a couple items for other business. And how late are we slated to go? Oh, it's an early evening.
Yeah.
I won't spoil that, I promise. But I wanted to talk. I wanted to talk about a couple postcards I received in the mail. I'm going to mention it under my announcements as well. But I also wanted to leave some time to have us think a little bit about what we're going to do about housing and city center and architectural design. I had had an email exchange some months ago with our city planner, and Jesse, I just want to kind of know where we're at, and if the council could kind of give you some guidance about what that should be like, and if everyone still agrees we should have it, which I hope is the case. But
Okay.
thanks.
And Jesse, you had?
I would like to add as a late item, resolution number 2023-14, honoring Donna Kinville for your approval in advance of our community celebration of her on August 17th.
So
Doing that as a late agenda item today so as to not confuse the community that tonight was the night to honor her.
Okay, and that should be item 13 or
That
12A, B,
Should
12B?
be before executive session, so maybe 11, or how about 10B?
Okay, 10B. Okay. All right. Is that it for changes or additions? All right, seeing no more, we'll move on to comments and questions from the public. Your turn.
Is not related to the agenda?
Not related to the agenda, yes, but we have someone here, Michael, so I'll get you when it's your turn. Go ahead, Lydia.
Well, it's lovely to see everyone, and I want to give.
Can I just ask you, is the green light on the thing bright? You have to push it down in the middle where it says push.
And I'm
There
going to
we
start
are.
recording. I
There you
forgot.
go.
Oh, that might sing a song with.
This conference will now be recorded.
Should have done that at the beginning of the meeting, and I want to make sure we get your words. Go for it.
Thank you. So, I'm Lydia Diamond. I've been a South Burlington resident 17 years. And I am before you about showing this documentary called Abolition and Revolution. Now, my name is not in it, but it's definitely very informative. And it shares some bits and pieces about my life and story from Brooklyn, New York, which is where I'm originally from. But it's so powerful, and it fed my soul, so to speak. And thanks to Megan and Jennifer
Murray?
at the library. They're going to host, and we get to watch it in this big, beautiful room.
Great.
And I'm excited. And I hope that the council will show up, sign your name, dot your I's and T's, all that good stuff. I might be saying it not the way you used to, but this is also, it's not just a documentary film screening. It's a fundraiser for Vermont Freedom Fund. And it's online, there's a lot of information, you got time to research, but we are going to show it on Friday, September 1st from 6 to 8. And I just want to come and share that with y'all first.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us and sharing it with, I guess, Megan and some other people, and I'm glad that the library will be hosting it, and I will make every effort to show up and attend. It
Good
sounds
to
really
see you,
interesting.
Helen. Good to see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's all I got for now.
Okay. Okay, Michael Mittag, you wanted to say something, and then Brian, you can say?
Yes, I had a question about the Wheeler Nature Park conservation easement, which has been some 12 years in the making. And I'm wondering if the council could enlighten me as to why it's taking so long. I do understand that there's a question of a survey, but in my book, one can hire a surveyor and get it done, and it doesn't take 12 years.
Okay. I don't think I can answer that. Jesse, do you have?
Yep, Michael, so as we talked about at our last meeting, you and I, it is on my to-do list. Colin and I have been going back and forth about it, and we are working on it. There's no intentional delay, it's just got to get to the top of the list.
Well, thank you, Jesse, but when you came on board, you stated this was one of your highest priorities to get this done. And you told me that the other day, and you telling me the same thing today, but I don't see that as a satisfactory answer. There are many, many people who are waiting for this and interested in it, and including, and I'm the spokesman for
Desi,
them.
his dog.
Yeah, no, she doesn't need an easement.
She likes the park,
But
though.
she loves walking there. So I mean, if it's a problem with getting a survey done or funding the survey, I'll find the money.
I don't believe it's a financial problem.
Well, can it float to the top of the list now that it's been 12 years? I mean, really, can't we get it done now?
Well,
And I'll leave that with you.
okay.
Yes. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, thank you for reminding us, and it is on, I think, everyone's short list. Sometimes our short lists get pretty long or other things happen, and they rise to the top, even though they're newer. But I have no doubt that it will be completed and finished. But I'm not going to put a date, because the last time I said that, it was going to be like, oh, before December, and that was last December. So I'm not going to say before this December, but I appreciate you reminding us, and I think our conversations around the Hubbard Natural Area and easement for that reminds us again that we need to complete that.
Yeah, well, the Hubbard would be a lot simpler to do, but don't worry about forgetting, because I will be here every 2 weeks to remind.
Well, I know you won't forget, so, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
And Representative Sina would like to speak from Burlington. Well, is one of, I guess Chena, and he's not our representative, but is he? Does he represent? No, he doesn't represent South Burlington, but we're happy to hear from you, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you. I meant to be there in person, but I couldn't get there in time, so I'm doing it remotely from a friend's house near my office. I want to start, I'll make it as quick as I can. I want to start by thanking Lydia Diamond for inviting me tonight, and I want to thank her for her tireless community service and her ongoing efforts to organize as a person with lived experience to make the world better for everyone. And I also want to thank City Councilor Megan Emery for reaching out to me over the years around housing and for being a tireless advocate for responsible development in South Burlington. What I just wanted to say, and I don't think this is on your agenda, but it's on your ongoing agenda, is that every community in Vermont has a tremendous opportunity at this point in history as we recover not only from the COVID-19 pandemic and the federal funds that we received for those efforts, but also the recovery from the recent tragedy of the natural disaster that's been striking Vermont and the ongoing landslides and flooding that we're seeing. That with this federal money, as we seek to rebuild, we have an opportunity to address some of the greatest challenges of our time in the way that we design and plan new neighborhoods. And I'm hopeful that through continued collaboration from the local and state level, that we can show the world how we can build equity into our infrastructure through the very design. In S100, which is the big housing bill that passed recently, we were able to include some language asking that we increase meaningful public engagement in the regional planning and land use policies and processes. And so my hope is that working with Lydia and others in South Burlington, that we might find creative ways to bring the most impacted people who have been historically excluded and marginalized into the process of planning and design beautiful new neighborhoods that improve the social determinants of health by the very way that they're created and built. And that if we do this right, and there's no perfect, perfection is not achievable. But if we take significant steps in a better direction, we can lay the foundation for a better future where people could be more balanced, our relations with each other could be more balanced, our relations with other living beings could be in more balance, and ultimately that we would live on this earth in greater balance. And so I'm happy to talk more about these ideas over time with anyone interested. And I just would encourage the council to continue to work with organizers like Lydia Diamond in your community to bring people into these decisions who haven't had a say throughout our history. So thank you, Lydia, for inviting me, and thank you to the City Council for letting me speak. Even though I don't live in South Burlington, I take an oath to be a guardian to the people, and that's all the people, and that I care for the people of South Burlington just as much as the people in my district. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, and I think we share your interest in, as we go forward with land use development regulations and the rollout of our climate plan and our discussions around housing, that the sentiments you just shared are part of our discussion, and I think will help us make better decisions going forward. So thank you. Is there anyone else?
Thank you.
Who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to councilor announcements and reports on committee assignments. Megan, do you want to start?
Okay, and I warn you, I do have several things, okay?
Okay.
It's been 3 weeks, right, since the last time.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to echo what both Representative Chena and Lydia Diamond, our resident, said about the importance of including people who don't conform to kind of the normative standards of mainstream society. And I was walking, it was actually thanks to Councilor Chalnick, who, when I said that we had gone for a bike ride, he said, "Oh, did you take the bus down?" I'm like, you know what, we should do that. And so not this past, just yesterday, but a week ago Sunday, we took the bus down and went for a walk. We got off at the train station and walked south. And then we caught the bus that goes on Pine Street. And I was waiting at the bus stop. This was on a Sunday, so not as many buses as on a regular day. So we had some time to wait, and anyway, the signage could be better on that bus stop. Unfortunately, there was a man there in a wheelchair who is a Burlington resident. And so I asked him, I said, you know if a bus comes here on Sunday? And he says, yes. I said, well, I'm looking on the wall. I don't see anything. And he showed me. He was very helpful. And we got into talking, and he shared with me some concerns about how Social Security is being cut and that he was having some financial difficulties. And so I talked to him about something that Representative Chena and Lydia Diamond are very much invested in, which is the People's Kitchen. And I said, do you know about the People's Kitchen? And he said, yes. In fact, the people I just spoke to talked to me about it. And I said, well, if you need to know more, I have a friend here in South Burlington, Lydia Diamond. He goes, you know Lydia Diamond? And I said,
Oh, I'm sorry Lydia isn't here.
I know, but she might watch. I'll tell her to watch. And so I really want to echo what Brian said, that Lydia has done an amazing job in terms of community development. And so when she came forward and wanted to have our city do Juneteenth, I, of course, jumped on that bandwagon. But also this film screening on abolition and revolution, I really echo. I think it's really important for us who we live middle-class lives, upper middle-class lives, very comfortable. Me trekking down to Route 7 to then find out I can't get what I needed down there and can just trek back in my little car there. It's easy. There are a lot of people who don't have cars. There are a lot of people who do not, get around very easily, like this gentleman in the wheelchair. And so I think it's really important for us to hear from people who do not live the normative lives, in terms of the social mainstream that we live. I met again with a resident here on Market Street, and dealing with real issues, which I won't share because that's divulging, information that is private. And I think that when, it's time for them to come forward and speak to us, they will. But what I will speak to is how what's happening in Florida, what's happening in Texas with regard to transphobia, it's here. It is here on this block. And people are being intimidated, people are being scared for their lives, and their children's lives. People are being, called, the authorities are being called because they don't think that a trans person should be raising a child. DCF is being called dozens of times over months. Taunts, physical intimidation outside of the building. This is happening on this block. We need to talk about this. We need to raise this. This is not okay. Not here, not in Texas, not in Florida, nowhere is it okay. And I will speak up loud and clearly about it, and I will even write a counselor corner. I know that August is Tim's month, but I will add my voice. And so when we talk about houselessness, when we talk about people who don't quite think like us or talk like us or see the world like us, or, it's because they don't experience the world like we do. And their wisdom deserves a whole new set of regulations and rules that we don't have. And I want us to listen to them. And so I'm putting that challenge out there to the City Council and to this community. We have so much to learn from these people who are just like us. They want the best for their kids. They want to have good community. They want to have happy lives and a future for this country. And I really think that we need to listen and make it possible for them to speak up. So thank you, Representative Chena, and thank you also to Lydia, who I will let her know to tune in when this is up and available online. Something that Lydia shared with me in addition to Juneteenth and Abolition and Revolution is that the Silver Palace restaurant that I loved is still sitting empty, and this is something similar to what Councillor Chalnick wants to do, help Common Roots do, set up more child care centers. And Lydia said, wouldn't that be a great place for a child care center, the Silver Palace? And I know you were talking about, in South Village, that would be another good place for, childcare. So let's think about that. Let's think about how, we could help that happen. I, spoke with Laura Williams today, a school board member, fabulous conversation. And I talked to her about how many parents just cannot find adequate after-school childcare. The capacity is just not there. We don't have enough staff in our Schools Out program. And of course, we don't have facilities or perhaps even staff in our recreation parks. And I know, I'm speaking about one person I know who is a single parent, cannot get into Schools Out, so her child is at private school, the only choice, right? So really thinking about how we can rethink our society. A lot of people who aren't, again, in our, kind of walks of life here, they don't see that this society is going to continue as it currently is. They are convinced that they need to train their children outside of the public schools because we are not preparing the children of these families for the lives that they're living currently and that they foresee their children will be living in the future, where there's no Social Security, there are cut benefits. Howard Center even doesn't have counselors so that their children are no longer receiving services because they are not in the most dangerous risk category. So when we have to make those difficult decisions to only give services to those who are most at risk, those who are most vulnerable, and therefore, that missing middle that we talk about in housing, that exists in social services across the board. And it's going to increase that lack of service that as a society, the richest society in the world, we aren't able to provide. So I really want us to think and hear and listen, and if that book doesn't exist, those rules or regulations that we don't have on the books yet, let's hear from them. What do they need, and how can we get them on the books? So that's my call, and I add my voice to Lydia's and to Brian's. I am going on here. I also talked to Laura Williams about our Williston Road streetscape. I believe it's going to be breaking ground next year. Is that correct, Jesse? Hopefully. Good. So I said, school board should be looking into that. There's going to be noise. There's going to be also perhaps changes to that entrance that is off of Williston Road there on the south side of Williston Road. So just want us to, as a city side, to really reach out to the school side and say, let's plan ahead, right? So that everything goes smoothly and we don't have to be reactive. We can be all right. So finally, I could say so much more because I have been thinking about a lot of things this weekend. I'll leave that for future things. But coming from a big city, I will just say this: we have so much going for us here. Okay, we can't see Hamilton. You can't. It's hard to see Hamilton when you're in New York City, but we have so much going for us here. We have a mid-sized city that is being developed, people who care about it, and let's just really, really work with that. The big metropolises where you just have to say, just like at Howard Center, it just doesn't rise to the level of concern, so we're just going to let that go, right? Because we have bigger fish to fry, we have bigger problems to solve, right? Let's be really mindful. We are in that sweet spot. Let's not let those small fish go uncooked, all right? Okay. Postcards. Did we all receive postcards from folks on Midland Avenue?
Did you want to take that up later?
I do. Okay.
Yes, I received a couple.
All right. I just wanted to check that out. All right. Very good. So I will save that till later. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, good. Tim?
Thank you. Just two quick things. I did attend by GoToMeeting one of the city plan listening meetings that happened, I think, from last week or the week before for about an hour and a half. Good input from citizens that attended. I think somebody was there who wasn't a resident but still wanted to offer some feedback for the city plan and comprehensive plan. So that was productive. My oldest sibling, my sister, was here visiting from Nova Scotia. She lives in Halifax, and we spent a real nice 4 days together, and I took her to the Shelburne Museum for the first time. And she was like, no, I don't think I want to go. I'm like, no, it's not just a regular museum. No, I don't want to go. It's like they've got a whole steamship, side wheel, paddle boat, right on the property. No, we got there and she went, oh, wow. This is pretty cool. So, yeah, and just so you know, in one of the buildings, they have a special display of children's handkerchiefs that are printed with different themes, such as, school alphabet multiplication table primer type stuff, or cartoons, or characters from cartoons, little morality things, It occupies like 4 or 5 walls. It's in the same building.
You're blowing your nose.
Oh, it's just, they're really, I took pictures of all of them. I'll show you later. Actually, I'll show them to you right now. Okay, we'll just go one by one.
Thank you, Tim.
So, anyway, it's always great to visit there. And once again, 5 hours later, we just still didn't see everything again. So, anyway, just wanted to put a plug in there for people. And I think that the library offers some discounted ticket passes. Luckily, my work at Global Foundries permitted me to use a card so that we got 2 adults in. And I bumped into a retired IBMer while I was there as well. So other than that, just been working and enjoying this wonderful weather. Thank you.
Okay. Andrew?
So my little green light is not working, but maybe I'll just try and speak into Tim's.
Yes.
Hi. So I attended Natural Resources and Conservation Committee meeting. They have a draft of what I'll call a tree ordinance that would be applicable for new development, so it would help conserve and preserve important trees on parcels that are to be developed. They're still working on it, but I think we're getting very, very close, so I'm excited about that, and hopefully the next step will be to send that to the Planning Commission, because it would be part of the LDR, so they would need to get a peek at it. Thanks, Tim. Thank you so much. They also discussed putting together some guidance for residents for the use of pesticides and herbicides, acknowledging that we can't regulate, but we can educate. And they expressed interest in working with the city to understand what the city does in that respect and possibly provide recommendations off the back of that. I attended the Transportation Committee segment for the Climate Action Plan. I think that plan, that transportation plan, is coming along really, really nicely. They fleshed out the actions and items that were in the Climate Action Plan. The folks that, were assembled are knowledgeable, they're experts, a lot of good input, and I'm really excited when that gets finalized for us to kind of dig our teeth into it and make some progress, and in connection with that, there'll be some monitoring to see how we're doing. So that's pretty cool. I also attended a city plan listening session and echo Tim that some really interesting discussion, which mirrors a lot of the things we've heard in the community, right, on many sides of different arguments, but it was good, healthy discussion, good, healthy debate. Maybe lastly, I attended a really wonderful event at the Intervale, just to mention, where they raised over $100,000 for farmers impacted by the flooding.
Nice.
Just really heartfelt, really emotional event, and people were really, really willing and ready to open their pocketbooks to help folks. It was really nice to see.
Great. Thank you. I attended the school city leadership meeting, and I think some of the issues you've raised about that kind of communication and safety for the children, as well as how together we plan with for the continued construction in City Center and its impact on Marcotte, I think has come a long way, and we continue to have good conversations, and it's really, I think it's being received well and is happening. So I agree with you that we need to work together, and I will underscore together. Takes two. The school needs to work with us, and we need to work with the schools to really finalize some of those plans and make it safe. I also I was invited to be interviewed by a company. It's called the Vermont Construction Company, and apparently it's like a roofing committee or company, and they put all the roofs on Habitat for Humanity houses in the area. That's one of their contributions. They pay for the roofing, I guess. But the purpose of the interview is that they are putting together, or trying to put together, a series of, I guess, little video topics about all the major topics we've been talking about. You know, whether it's housing or mental health or the environment, global warming, all the different issues that we talk about all the time. And they wanted to understand kind of where South Burlington was in all of this. So I talked for about an hour. It was, I'm proud to say it
the
was.
roofing companies putting together the video, or Habitat for Humanity?
It's called the Vermont Construction Company, and they are interested in reaching out to understand what the public sees as the big issues and maybe what some solutions are, and understand kind of what is going on. So I thought it was kind of interesting that it was a construction company that was doing this. But anyway, it was a wonderful conversation. But I will tell you that I was an unabashed promoter of South Burlington, because when I started to go through all of the things that we have started to do, and really going back to 2006 when we were the first stormwater program, municipal program in the state. And I believe that those kinds of changes, along with a lot of our LDRs and our planning and development, particularly in thinking about the open space that we have protected and bought as a city, really contributed to this community not having the impact by all that rain. Now, we didn't get the same amount of rain, certainly, as Ludlow, and we're not, in the middle of a mountain range. And we don't have a major river going through our community. But we still have put in place an awful lot of things that have really helped protect the environment so that we haven't made the pollution or impact on Lake Champlain any greater than it needs to be. In fact, it's been pretty proactive. I think we've done a lot, and I talked a lot about the housing, the number of houses, both affordable and otherwise, that we've built that are in the pipeline, and as well as the balance of sort of how we're looking at the need for open space. To me, that was is part of an initiative for mental health. I think COVID taught us all that if you can't go to the movies or the library or go out to a restaurant to commune with friends, going into nature is a darn good way to find peace and solace and comfort and health. So it's a really interesting conversation. I look forward. I asked them how they're going to distribute these, and they said, well, it's going to be on our YouTube and our website, and they're hoping to get WCAX to maybe run some of them. But we'll see what has come out of them. But it was a cool And it was a fun conversation. You know, sometimes when you're, interviewed by the news media, they're looking for little short sound bites and a little more gotcha stuff, and this was really just a very long, nice conversation. So it was cool. So that's what's kept me busy. Jesse?
Great, thanks. So I have a number of updates for you tonight. Just going back to where Council Emery started, just a reminder to the council that we did secure that municipal planning grant this year to do equity and planning work, to figure out how we structurally and systematically improve all of our planning voices to include more voices at the table. So I'm hopeful that that will be a little piece of what you were talking about. Wanted to check with the council about, I mentioned this last time, didn't hear back, so just confirming that August 21st is at 4 o'clock. We will do our walking tour of City Center, which I think will also kick off some of that conversation about changes we could see to the form-based code and other planning efforts in City Center. So put that on your calendars. We will warn it as a meeting.
And say the date again?
It's right before your next council meeting, August 21st.
Oh, okay, I think I already have it on my council. Yes, I do, thank you.
Is that right? Yes, that is right. So we have completed, so a couple of infrastructure updates. We've completed our FY24 paving program. All the streets that we are going to pave in FY24 are now paved. FY25, just as a reminder, we'll focus on paving Dorset Street from Aspen to Kennedy Drive, and then FY26 that you'll receive with the next year's CIP will really focus on the pavement condition index and the streets identified as we do that evaluation. V-Trans paving on Route 7 is ongoing. We are hopeful, weather dependent, that that will wrap up the end of next week. We know that that's been quite a challenge for drivers of Route 7. Just a reminder that that is a V-Trans managed project. And then also wanted to, I'm sure folks who are driving Dorset Street regularly see that the signal work is going fast and furious. We will be closing lanes in the next couple of weeks between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. So trying to avoid that prime commuting time to install the new mastheads and poles. The site plan for Lot N, which is the lot in City Center across from the current construction site right on Market Street, received its site plan approval this week, or actually the end of last week. It includes 3 buildings, pretty much mirroring what is on this block. Each of them are 4 stories high. The buildings facing Market Street, first floor will not be residential use, will be a commercial use, and includes 27,000 square feet of that space, and then 210 new homes on the upper floors.
And that's Snyder-Braverman?
That's Snyder-Braverman, yep.
Is that also rental or is that ownership?
That is rental
So,
and invested in by UVM. Tomorrow, city team is meeting with representatives from the school district to further our conversations about the transfer of land ownership of 577 Dorset. That is a very involved process with a lot of questions about land use and zoning requirements, subdivision, condoizing, et cetera. Also treatment of stormwater that's on site, separating the HVAC systems, whatnot. So we believe this is going to be quite a long process, but we are starting that process tomorrow morning. I'm going to use Helen's term to say, I had the opportunity to be an unabashed promoter of South Burlington last week as well when we hosted Treasurer Pichek here in the library. Thank you to the library for that space. He brought the 3 national rating agencies to Vermont to look at where Vermont is. They hadn't been here since 2015, so they are doing a reassessment. And he specifically selected South Burlington for that visit. They also went and visited Beta. There were probably 30 people in the room. Andy was there. And I spoke on a panel around housing and workforce needs. Please want me to remind you, when you are leaving your cars, please lock your cars and take your valuables. We are definitely seeing an uptick of theft from motor vehicles, so that is primarily preventable, especially at Red Rocks. Folks who are visiting Red Rocks and walking, please lock your cars. Yep,
During the day.
always. Anytime.
Well, that, of course, but
always
the
do,
thefts are
but-
happening in the middle of the day.
Yep.
Huh, it was just there.
Soccer registration is open and scholarships are available. And then just a reminder that next Wednesday is Bennington Battle Day and it's a city holiday, so City Hall will be closed, but your public safety crews will be here and available for you. And I will leave it at that.
Can I add one thing? As you were talking about Shelburne Road, I just want to warn people that Route 2 Williston Road near the Beta entrance, near Pete's RV, has been tied up the last couple of days for milling and repaving, and they're doing entrance work there, sidewalk work, so you could be subject to flagging, and it got backed up this morning and this afternoon and late this afternoon, so anyway.
On Williston Road.
On Williston Road, right near Pete's RV, the new Beta entrance, so just be prepared for that if you get stuck.
Can I also just mention something in relation to paving? So Spear Street was paved wonderfully, and a few days later, in front of Spear Meadows, about a 100-foot section was kind of dug up and paved horribly. And I don't know if you know that, Jesse, but
Oh, yes.
okay,
We are aware.
it's a real mess.
Real mess.
Okay.
That was, Tom DePietro is working hard with the developer to make sure that is rectified very, very quickly.
Okay.
I think that's always the way, it seems. When I lived in Burlington, they'd pave the road, and then, the gas company, the water, they'd have to dig a square up and
It was
fix
like
something.
2 days later.
I know, it seems.
Next time you see Tom DePietro, talk to him.
Communication goes a
I
long
know,
way.
I don't know why they don't communicate, but anyway, sometimes you can't. Okay, well, thank you. So moving on to the consent agenda. We have 4 items: the disbursements, approval of minutes from July 10th, the special city council meeting, and July 17th, the regular city council meeting, approving applications for the 23-24 U.S. Department of Transportation discretionary grant funds to support the bike and pedestrian bridge over 189. And fourthly, approve the allocation of up to $35,000 in ARPA funds to fund placemaking and planning work to create a city green in City Center.
One small correction, item C was over Interstate 89, not 189, just,
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
That's okay.
I-89, excuse me.
So I'll move that we approve. I have one question.
second.
Okay, your question.
And
Have
I,
you also had to comment about the minutes, or did you want to
I
wait?
sent a small comment to you by email.
To me?
Oh, who should I send it to?
Well, you should just air it now. If you want it changed, it could be changed right now.
Oh, I mean, we're just revising the
We can
paragraph.
pull it, and then we could resubmit them.
Okay, which one? Is it July 10th or?
The 17th.
So why don't we pull the 17th? And we will
Thank you.
make the correction and we'll
Thank you.
vote on it at our next council meeting. So the consent agenda only includes the minutes from July 10th.
right. And I apologize, Jesse, I got in from New York City at noon, and I have been meeting with residents and people all afternoon. So I meant to send this to you, but I never got to my computer. So it is on the warrant, and it is the Pride Parade registration. I was curious what we did
Oh,
for Pride.
I am
Pride
happy to
Parade.
talk about this, but I
Yeah.
would also invite our library director to talk about it if she wants. I believe this is the payment for us. The library is participating in the Burlington Pride Parade this year.
Nice, nice. Is that a usual thing, or is that a new thing?
It's a new thing.
A new thing, excellent. And can we know more about it? Jennifer Marie, what did we do?
Yes, you do, please.
Jennifer Murray, Library Director.
Is it
Is
bright
the
green?
light on? Okay.
So this year, we are going to be in Pride. It was kind of a couple of things came together. Daisy Brayton, the new HR person, and I were just talking casually about, oh, wouldn't it be fun to have a in the Pride Parade, and And I have a colleague at the library who wanted to do a book cart drill team in the parade. We could not get that together for this year.
What's a book cart drill team?
A book cart drill team is something that libraries do using the book carts that you use, and you do it in syncopation. You know, it's like synchronized swimming, synchronized
carts?
book carts.
Oh,
So
cool. Down the road?
down the road.
Oh, how cool is that?
No books on the carts. So next year, that's what our hope is. So we started thinking about it. So this year, we still want to have a presence. We're designing a banner that has the general city logo plus the library logo, and we will be advertising very soon out to the public and to the staff and anybody who would like to can join us in March with our banner.
Very cool. Is that something that you could do down Market Street, like for, I don't know, this is the book drill, or
the
book
drill.
cart drill? Yeah, the cart drill, the
Anything
practice.
is possible.
Yeah. All right.
Anything is possible. Right now, we have to get new wheels for the carts because the pavement is too hard on them.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of people from this building, in addition to library staff, who are interested in playing with it, and that gives us a lot more time to practice and see what's what. So we'll see how it goes, you know? If I'm on the book cart drill team, you probably don't want to have that, you know, as a highlight of Market Street, because I'm not super coordinated. But
No matter, I could be on the book cart drill, I think it would be very meaningful, so.
yeah,
really
so
do.
that's where we are with that, and of course, you all are invited. It'd be great to have you.
Thank you.
Right, thank you, Jennifer.
May I ask one question?
You may.
The repair of the elevator, that's complete?
We believe that is complete. It has
It's-
been fully functional for 4 days.
Oh, okay. And it's $7,600. Can I ask what broke? Do we know?
So they tried a number of things, and Steve, correct me if I say something wrong. There was several things they tried. What it ended up being was a cable between the button panel and the direction panel inside that had to be specially ordered. Is that more or less correct? More or less. Ribbon cable, thank you.
So not the cable that actually holds it.
No, a button.
That's good. That's good to know.
But a little teeny cable, $7,600, yeah.
Well, it's
Well-
probably travel time, hourly time,
Well, yes, but
diagnostic
still.
time. And
Elevators are expensive.
did we get a spare cable too while we're at it? Or?
Too soon, right. Okay, are we complete with our questions? Are you ready for the vote?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of the slightly amended consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And it passes. So next, we have a wonderful introduction of our new communications and outreach coordinator for the city.
Yes, so this is, Andy, you can come up. This is just a very quick, I want to introduce Andy Brumbaugh, who joined us last week. Today is day 6 for Andy as our communications and outreach coordinator for the city. Andy brings 20 years of experience in the TV industry, including the last 10 years as the creative services director for My Champlain Valley, 22 and 44. So
Fabulous.
really exceptional skill set. He has a BA in communications with a minor in English, and has numerous awards from the Vermont Broadcasters Association. He's also a South Burlington resident. So he has really jumped in week 1, learning a lot, getting to know a lot of folks, and already has some great ideas for how we improve our outreach and engagement with all of our residents. So I wanted you all to have the opportunity to meet Andy and know who he is when you see him around the city.
So Andy, did she
Welcome.
leave anything important out?
I don't think
About
so.
you?
It sounds very impressive when she puts it all together that way. So very nice introduction. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. It's a great name for TV and media, Andy Brumbaugh. That's, Tom Brokaw, Andy Brumbaugh.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is, having met everybody I talk to says, as I just mentioned earlier tonight, they say, nice to meet you, welcome, and I have a long list of things for you. So it sounds like this is a needed position, and I'm looking forward to helping out.
Great.
Nice.
Well, welcome aboard. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item 8, the library board presentation on their strategic plan. So Board Chair Stacy Papp and our librarian will be providing that.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I think this is on. Go ahead. Okay, now is it on?
Yes.
Thank you.
But make sure it's close-ish, because you have a low.
Okay, how's that? Is that
that
okay?
sounds better, yes.
So yes, I'm Stacy Pape. I am the chair of the South Burlington Public Library. And trustees, I'm very excited to be here with Jennifer Murray, our director, to share with you our strategic plan. And as you could see from the sheet that we shared previously that's in the agenda, the library board has a unique role with independent authority. We want to share this plan with you, the council, and community members to show how we are aligned with city priorities and recognizing that the trustees are really the governing body of the library, and we are there to support the staff in what they're doing, and that's including this strategic plan. And we are wondering if you have any questions for us about the plan.
Well, I don't know that I have. Can you give us just maybe highlights, and the public might benefit from that as well?
Right. I mean, I thought it sounded great, but
Yeah.
highlights would be good for the public. I didn't have any specific questions to nail you on.
Okay.
So for the sake of the public, I'll read the main categories, which is that the South Burlington Public Library will be an engaged community leader. All community members will see themselves reflected at the South Burlington Public Library. The South Burlington Public Library will create and expand and improve the use of curated digital tools. And the South Burlington Public Library will work to eliminate barriers that limit access to programs, services, and collections. So those are the primary categories. I think that they are in keeping also with priorities that we've met about, certainly as far as equity and inclusion, and also under just somewhere here, I was sure that we had something about climate change. And now I'm standing here and I don't see it, but I'm sure it's there. Under engaged community leader, it does say that we're committed to addressing climate change in the, within the climate action plan that's created. So those are the ways that I'm most aware of that are tie in to what's also been talked about kind of at this level of the city as well. Being in the Pride Parade certainly is, part of our reaching out into the community and welcoming people into the library as well. I think that if you enter the library now, I think you'll see a lot more in the way of displays that are reflective of different parts of the community than you might have 2 years ago. So I'm pleased about that. Some of the thing about the curated digital tools is we have to make some decisions, budgetary decisions and access decisions about how best we can get information into the community and how can we publicize that, and Andy. And deal with the reality of how people really want their information to come to them. So that's where the curated digital tools comes in, and that's something that we haven't really started yet, but we haven't started looking at it in a different way than we had before. So those are just some of the things that fit into this plan, and I'll be reporting to the board on kind of these categories throughout the year so that then they can gauge whether we're doing what we said we would do. And it'll be as I understand it, it's it's a living document, so the board is going to review it annually, so that if there's something, if there's really not that much to do with curated digital tools, then we'll come up with something else that is relevant to serving the community.
And we did, oh, sorry.
Oh, please.
I was just going to say, we did create it as a 5-year plan, so it gives us some time to look at different things and do some analytics around what the library is doing, so we can decide whether or not that goal is really working and how we can change it going forward.
Good. You had a question?
I did have a question. Thinking about people who perhaps have sight issues or hearing issues, or perhaps, even, writing is a challenge for them, yet they're very verbal, and do we have software in place? Do we have things that would help people, hear the email that they receive or the text that they're reading online, or where they could speak into a microphone and the text could, appear on the page, the email that they're writing, or some kind of document that they're preparing?
So I think all of the public computers have basic software that can be programmed to do that. We have one that is set aside now that's already large print and has some instructions to be able to access some of those things more easily. And I'm unfamiliar with anything that has to do with writing. We don't have something that's about writing at this stage of the game as far as handwriting goes that translates it into the written, the typed word. And of course, the building has hearing loops in lots of different rooms, which we sometimes forget to use when we need them. So one of the things that's on my list for this year is that all staff need to have a familiarity and capability of using those hearing loops and telling people about them, because they're super simple to use. We just have to use them. So we're aware of certain things like that. And if you have suggestions, I'm totally open to hearing them, because this is a 5-year plan, so I have some time to work on it.
Great. Tim?
A quick comment. It's really important for technology access and training. I don't know if everybody saw it, but Steve Hartman on the Road, CBS News, like 3 months ago, did a story about some high schoolers that were right next door to a retirement home, and they ended up going in and helping the residents, like it would be, library to Howard Square, like how to use their cell phones, right? How to use their smartphones, how to delete emails, right? How to change the notifications, why does it make this sound? Why does it buzz? I sometimes have questions about my phone, right? But I know that other people that don't have the experience I do probably have more questions, right? So any opportunities like that where a supposed expert can be resident or around for certain hours, and people can come in and go, I don't understand why I can't, if they can answer it, right? It would be of great help, and just help people from just day-to-day communication and ease of their phone.
Yeah, the high school tech club actually goes out to like Wake Robin and other residences. My son did it, and
Was that Technology for Tomorrow?
yes,
Yeah,
Technology for
yeah.
Tomorrow, and like just basic stuff, about everything you remind
when he's
everybody on
home
Community
next,
Watch
have him
page.
come over to my
Don't
house.
open those documents you don't expect, right? And don't right, don't open a window that pops up on your screen. All these things is just useful knowledge and information. Yeah.
Andrew? Yeah.
So I'm wondering, kind of leveraging the really good work that Megan and Lydia are doing and bringing a wonderful film to this auditorium, whether we can kind of leverage that, and thinking about climate change, you think about like a film series where we can educate the community about elements of climate change. If that's something that we could do, I'd love to work with you on that, because there's a bunch of really good films that I think would be valuable for people to see.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to hosting Lydia And certainly, we're open to talking to you, to committees, city committees who have ideas. We've also had city committees come forth and say they want to do a reading group. And we've helped them figure out a good book to use for the reading group and leading that discussion. So a film series is certainly something that's within our capacity.
That'd be great.
Cool. And Tim, I'll just go back for a second. So that there are two issues about what you talked about. One, which Megan also talked about, is the intergenerational nature of, the possibilities of doing tech training. We've done some of that in the past. We haven't done that with Allard Square recently, so it's a good reminder for me to, we could do that again. The time that I'm thinking of it, we had middle school students, and it was the same kind of thing. Of course, it depends on who shows up and who knows what, but it can be a really it's an amazing intergenerational activity. As far as just generally speaking, we have a weekly tech help that anybody can sign up for. It's 40 minutes, and we have 2 volunteers who help people with tech help one-on-one. So if you are having a problem with your phone, please do not hesitate to call and make an appointment. I've used it myself because, you could go to IT. No, this is really personal stuff. This isn't for my work. So please don't hesitate, you and anybody else out there, to call us and make an appointment.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to keep going because this is fun, but you can stop us anytime. The high school has wonderful musicians, and some of them form music groups and bands. Invite them, to come and perform on the stage for their friends. Bring in the young people that you want to take up to the young adult part of the library. Just give them a reason to come here and to then explore and make it their own place. That's something I would really like to see happen here too. I love all the groups that usually come too, but just ways to bring in the young people.
And I think that would be helpful for the school department to have their students do performances here more for the general public versus their parents and their colleagues in school. Because I think that's how people learn to appreciate what the school is doing. And therefore, it's worth paying the taxes. I mean, it's the same thing with opening up parks. The more we get people in nature, then they see the value of that, and it's worth whatever the dollars are. And so I think this is another way that maybe the city can enhance the community's appreciation of all the different things the schools do. And because sometimes it's really hard to even get in the school, because of the security, but you can come here a little more easily.
So one of the things that we didn't have in place when we moved in, we realized that we needed was expertise in using the auditorium and some of the other space in the recording studio at the level to which it can be used. And we just recently, just before Mike left, he found somebody that is working with us as a consultant, so that when we invite, say, a student group, or even if the library has a program with a band that has 2 or 3 instruments, that we are not relying just on the easiest settings in the room, that we can also hire this person to help create that sound, as long as there's money to do it. So now that we have someone that we can rely on for that, who also is going to be doing some more descriptive step-by-step instructions that for people who don't feel like they need that, I think that is definitely something we can look into, because we want to work with the schools. We're right next door. We have a past relationship with the high school, so all those are good ideas.
Okay. Other questions, comments?
Can I say something quickly?
Yes.
So I just want to, while you both are here, say how, with the library board's independent authority, I still really appreciate the partnership approach that this library takes with the city. I think a lot of what's in this plan around equity and communications and modernizing systems are very much aligned with the FY24 policies and strategies the council adopted. And certainly having Jennifer sit on our leadership team is a huge added value to our citywide team, including her. So thank you for the continued partnership despite the independent authority.
And thank you. And also, just to put it out there again, Jesse, I know you and I have spoke about it, but when there's opportunities that you think the trustees could be a presence at a meeting or event that we might not know about, please let us know, because we all feel the staff does an amazing job. They can't always get out of the library to participate in some of these things, but if we can be a presence and do more partnerships with other committees and events within the community, we would love to be there. So thank you all.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next we're going to hear from the fire department and their strategic plan. So we got Steve and
Ms. Corbin.
Mr. Corbin. Our new, yeah.
Good evening, and thank you for taking a few minutes to talk about our strategic plan. I will, if you can, maybe just, I will say, if you look at the goals you can wait right there 1 second. The deputy is going to talk at the conclusion. I think the last slide is the goals, but I did want to set the stage a little bit. So this is a 5-year plan as well, but the goals in our plan are for the most part, are very internally focused, which is somewhat unusual in a strategic plan, but you have to remember where the organization was at during the time when we were doing this. So this was done in March of this year, so at 9 months into my tenure, and that there was and still is, it's getting better, but still a very heavy focus internally on quality of life. If you remember right, about those times, people were getting mandatory to work about, once a week. Someone, you were coming back around. It was happening that frequently, with really an unprecedented amount of overtime within the organization, so forced to work. We have seen that, now that we're at full staffing, significantly drop off, and we are seeing an increase in quality of life. People can get their 2 days off before they have to come back. And overtime is one of those things that's always a sweet spot where people want to work a little bit of it, but they don't want to be here all the time. So again, when we get to the goals, you're going to see that they are very internally focused for the most part, and just understand that really was goes to somewhat where we were as an organization at the time, where people were feeling all they did was they were spending more time at work than they were at home, and we're trying to find out how to survive it. So. But again, you can go to the next slide, please.
Can I interject first?
Yes.
I would just add, on top of that, not only is that about employee wellness and wanting to be a good employer and be a choice place of employment for people, but these are the folks who are responding to our residents in their worst moment, and we need them to be rested and trained and able to serve, and not going on a 36-hour on-the-job shift. Now I will advance.
You're great. You're always great to jump in there. So this was a facilitated process that we contracted with the Center of Public Safety Excellence, who is a national organization who works primarily with fire departments. And many of you sat through an hour lunchtime meeting that was facilitated, but they run a very, at times perhaps rigid, could be seen as rigid, but it's the way that they can ensure the process works the way they lay it out. And so while it may not felt like you were able to get much feedback or provide your input, we saw that in the notes at the end, and how our external stakeholders see as our priorities, which is what we expected. Medical services, number 1, fire, number 2, prevention, number 3. Those are really the big things about when you think about our fire department. And so what we heard was loud and clear. Were those priorities. The next 3 days, though, were all employees were voluntarily, I mean, we compensated them, but it was not mandatory that they came in. And all of our employees, unless they had a conflict one of the days with training or family or daycare, spent 3 days, exhausting long days, talking about the organization and the future of the organization, and doing things we had never done before, which is develop a mission statement, a vision statement, our core values, and then finally, what are the goals that we want to see over the next 5 years? So this was this is what we developed as a mission statement. And if words matter, and I would say that we spent hours wrangling over, and you're going to see this in both the mission and the vision and values, about certain words to get to answer the question, and this question was, who are we and what do we do and why do we do it? And so this was what the group by consensus got to after really hammering out some words. And so this is what we see as our future, as our mission for the organization. The next is the vision. And so the vision answers the question about where do you want to see us go? What is the future alive for us? And this is what, again, through a lot of debate about words, came up as the vision for the fire department and why we are and what we want to be. And then finally, before I hand it over to the deputy, organizational values. And this is, again, where we threw a ton, I bet we started with 30 or 40 words, what we felt were core where we could see core values. And we wanted to pare that down to 3 words so that when we hire somebody, we can say, this is what we stand for. This is what's important to us. This is what we want to strive when we talk about this organization and how we do business and who we are. And if you live by these things, then you make decisions by these things, then you're always going to make a right decision. Or if you don't, we can come back to these things and say, why didn't you vacuum the floor today? We believe that you take ownership. That's our home. And so that's why we came up with these as our organizational values. I think the next one is,
All right. So 5-year plan came up with 5 goals. We thought that was pretty attainable. And there's some what may be perceived as repetition among the goals. And I think that just reflects back to the chief's opening statements. The department was in a pretty serious transition. It was a good transition, but we were still in a pretty serious transition where I think a lot of these things reflected on a few common themes, which you'll see. The first one, summarizing the sustainable work environment with professional growth. A lot of that just has to do with the work-life balance and how can we have, the proper environment, the proper rest, recovery, training, and work schedules to really make the employees as effective as they can be while they're there, giving them enough time with their family and recovery after the fact. The second one was, I think a lot of us looked at this as retention. We know that in public safety, recruitment and retention is a big thing. And I think when we have satisfied employees and we have an organization that supports their professional development and their longevity in their careers, we're going to experience better retention through the workforce. The third was making sure that when we go out of the streets and we leave the fire station, we're providing the community and the visitors, the citizens, the taxpayers, the guests, the best possible service, not only with what they need, but with what national standards represent and define that they need. And we're really doing that. The third goal is kind of in line with our community risk reduction and standards of cover project that we're working on right now. So a lot of probably what results from that will then transition into that goal number 3 for us to work toward and implement. The fourth, and probably one of the things that a lot of places aren't good at, right, is succession planning, especially when you have strong leadership and strong capabilities of people in current positions. We kind of forget about what happens when they leave. And developing a professional development program, not only for retention, but for training and for that succession planning is really, is important. For us, it's really important because we've found ourselves in a much more inexperienced workforce than we ever have before. So now it's rare that we're hiring people that have any real experience before they come to us. So making sure that we have a clear roadmap as to how we train and develop the employees is extremely important. And then the fifth one, and probably the most challenging, but will really be really is going to draw on partners from across the county, not just our city, to really happen, is flexible and strategic models for responding to a lot of our substance abuse disorders, behavioral health issues, and other high-frequency calls for service that are certainly emergencies, but can really tax our services and really put a great demand, and not on us, but also law enforcement, the hospital, human health and human services, so on and so forth. So the fifth one is probably, if we had 5 of them, the fifth one is probably the biggest reach, the biggest lift. But I think that a lot of the first 4 are really already starting to come to fruition in some ways. And I think that once we can conquer a couple of those, we'll be able to, in 5 years, hopefully, knock on wood, conquer the fifth one as well.
Yeah, one of the words in the second bullet just continues to strike at me is increased career fulfillment. So many people come into this job to help people, yet the system is so broken. We transport the same person every day, sometimes multiple times a day. It is very difficult to feel fulfilled at the end. They were at 14 calls when I left at 6 o'clock for the day. So in 10 hours, they've done 14 runs, and they're not even halfway through their shift. And so it is just tough when you're picking up sometimes. And today, I don't think they've been to either of those places today. And so sometime tonight, in the middle of the night, they're going to pick up one of 2 people we pick up every day. And it's tough to be fulfilled when it's very much a non-emergent run, but they call 911, and that's the system we have. So just understanding these are exciting times in the fire department. We do have a third of the department has less than a year on the job, which is really scary from a high frequency, high risk, low frequency events. But they're willing to learn, and we have a great team that's spending a lot of time training with our young people, and really excited for where we are as an organization. And this just is our, kind of like our roadmap forward. So we'll gladly take any questions you may have.
Helen, could I ask the last
Yes,
question
you
about
may.
that last point? So are there mental health professionals on the fire department staff that could, help with that fifth bullet? It just, I wouldn't have thought, I guess it wouldn't have struck me intuitive that it would be within the scope to, work on behavioral health issues.
Most of these people are in the system, in the state, in the county, and in the hospital system, and choose not to participate, and are offered every opportunity to be a part of the system. In fact, we have some crews that have proactively stopped and knocked on doors at this building every day, right? And just, hey, do you need anything? How you doing today? How you feeling? Do you need anything? Hoping that if they stop at 3 p.m., they're not calling at 3 a.m. And so, yes, we use the city team that's housed out of the police department, and they're our partner. But again, a lot of these people are not willing participants in the system.
This is the sweet spot. The fact that you can do that. New York City, no way could you just call on people and say, how are you doing today? And they need that. I'm not saying that it's because you're doing more than they need. They need that.
That is to be honest, that is the model that a lot of the larger communities are going to.
Really?
Community-based paramedicine, mobile integrated health. There's a couple different words for it, but it really means is, you take your 25 highs or even 5 most high-frequency users, and you go see them every day. So it keeps them out of the ER. is what you're trying to do.
The police department does that with older people, too. There's a bunch that they,
check
especially in
in
the
on.
winter, to
Yeah.
make sure that they're, have heat and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah, it's
remember.
very proactive. It's great.
I read some study where in New York City, they did an analysis of calls, and it was like one person from this one block was responsible for like 30% of all the calls. And so what they ended up doing was opening a little medical office in that building, right? And then having some medical coaches, right, health coaches, interact with these people on a daily basis, and it brought the numbers.
We're building a document right now that the deputy just spoke about. Well, when you see the heat map about where our calls for service are, it's very clearly 4 or 5 buildings. This street has become a very high frequency call volume on. So there's a few buildings, a few occupancies that we go to every day.
So that kind of little coaching corner, if you will, could be a possible assistance to that? I mean,
The problem is we're almost, unless you partner, unless you get my opinion, unless you can really get the hospital to spend some money on to support it.
Yeah.
And then.
Well, when they've moved into their new building, when they're not working, they can just help the community. Yes.
The word innovative under your vision statement, if you could talk a little bit more about innovations that you've kind of were batting back and forth as you were, as this
So interestingly enough, in words have meaning, the word innovative was highly, deeply debated throughout the process because a lot of people wanted that as part of our mission statement. And we really got to the point of we're not actually innovative right now. So it's more of something we need to move to than, where we currently are. I think even though for many places in the country it's not innovative, moving into a computer-aided dispatching system like we are right now is certainly going to help move us towards innovation. I think that if you look down the line at the goals, that 5th goal, we're probably going to have to be really innovative to come up with some, proper long-term solutions to achieve that 5th goal. But it more fell into the vision statement because we don't know yet. In the grand scheme of this profession, there are a lot of places around the country and around the world doing what we would consider very innovative things, but it's just commonplace there now. So we're probably going to be innovative for our area, for our community, for our state. It's going to be real creative to be, more innovative than some of those people leading the way throughout the fire service. But we're definitely, and I think it's even just discussions as far as if we look outside of the fire and EMS response model. Obviously, the prevention division, the fire marshal's office probably could very well lead the way with that, just in not only working with code enforcement, but working with builders, developers, and that sort of thing to try to, carry out the city's goals and objectives.
Yeah, that's our hope.
The deputy was on about 3 calls today about, and what we laughed about, it was all day today, calls or web meetings or in-person meetings about technology that we're implementing. And the deputy's not the most technologically, but is becoming quite the guru at it. So we were laughing about it. His whole day today was a new RMS system that we're trying to, records management system that we're trying to incorporate, computer-aided dispatch, technology in our vehicles so that we're going to dispatch. So if the truck's going from the south end is getting fuel over by your house and you call 911, the computer's going to say, that truck's the closest, we're sending that unit. Or we're putting our own station alerting in the air guard so that when we get dispatched to a fire, they get dispatched at the same time. So there's some really cool stuff happening.
I had to have our IT department break it down today though, into tin cans and strings. I said, all right, we got tin cans here. Where do the strings have to go to work? But we got there.
That's cool. I love.
Good model, yeah. You had another question?
I did have another question. Do you ever see people sleeping out on the street when you go around at night or during the day? Yes. Where? I don't know if that's a good question to ask, and the camera's rolling.
I think it's, I wouldn't say it's any one particular spot. You know, I think the Shelburne Road corridor has a fair amount of that. That's probably where the largest population of that is, but there's not really a defined location.
And do you help them find shelter when you see them? Is that part of your?
I think a lot of times it's not a common thing for the citizens to see here. So a lot of times our interaction with them is because someone called 911. You know, I think that typically if you're driving down Shelburne Road and you see someone laying in the grass, most people, you know, think the worst and call 911. And a lot of times we end up getting there and there isn't a medical emergency, and sometimes maybe they'll want to go to the hospital for whatever reason and they get transported, and other times they may not want anything to do with us and they get up and walk away.
Which is their right, right? So
Yeah.
I know from an accident I had back when. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great,
Thank you very much. If there's no more questions. Great. Well, we're even ahead of schedule. Number 10, convene as the South Burlington Liquor Control Commission to consider the Myers Wood-Fired Third-Class Restaurant Bar and Outside Consumption Permit.
I move that we enter the Liquor Control Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the third-class restaurant bar and outside consumption permit for Myers Wood-Fired.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, yes, I'd just like to acknowledge the fact that that location used to be the second location for Kentucky Fried Chicken, which used to be down the road where China Express is, across from what used to be the Panda Inn, which used to be the Howard Johnson, but is now McKinney's Drug. And this is now so Kentucky Fried Chicken, Mimo's, Junior's. Is this the fourth business that's there? So I wish all the good luck to Myers Wood-Fired. We love their bagels, and this is great that they're applying for third class, and I hope their business is very successful.
I have to say, when I saw the name, I was like, that's my street. And then I'm like, oh, no.
No.
Ah, well.
All right, so if you're ready for the vote, all in favor of granting this?
Aye.
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 So I will move that we come out of the Liquor Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we are back to 10B.
So, do you want me to?
Sure.
So we are bringing you a resolution honoring, at your request, honoring the retirement of Donna S. Kinville. This is a resolution that, if approved tonight, will be presented to her at a community celebration on August 17th at SB Night Out at 5:15, and we hope the whole community can join us. No rain. If it rains, the next morning at 10 a.m., we will do that ceremony at City Hall. So this is really to just acknowledge Donna's service, proclaim August 17th as Donna S. Kinville Day, and invite the community to that celebration. It goes on to have the South Burlington City Council constitute the naming of the official municipal vault at 180 Market Street in her honor, and then wish her the best in retirement.
Yeah.
And to come back often.
And to come back often.
Well, she is a resident.
She is a resident.
Right.
And she's staying on several of our committees, right? The Sextons and
Charter.
Charter.
Great. So we need a motion to approve this?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion passes, and we have
So I can't sign
agreed to
this.
that resolution.
Thank you.
All right, so now to other business. We have 2 items, postcards in the mail, that I guess we all received.
That was South Village HOA?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, concerned about traffic on Midland?
Midland.
Yes, speeding.
And I am too. I didn't even know it was on the map until it was starting to be built. And I would like it to just fall into disrepair and turn into a dirt road, to be quite honest.
So I didn't receive, can somebody give me a few sentences on what the postcard was? I
That
don't know
there's
what
a
you're
lot of traffic, that it moves quickly, that they feel that it is unsafe.
On what?
Midland Avenue.
Midland.
I didn't
The
know
portion
the
of
part about
Midland
traffic.
that
I noted the
connect-
part about speeding.
Pardon me?
I thought it said speeding,
Speeding, right.
but not necessarily traffic.
When you're headed from South Village to Dorset Farms, and you're coming up, I don't know if it's Midland at that point, but you're about to get to Midland, and you come up the hill and turn to the right, that's a pretty dangerous turn right there, especially with cars parked on the right-hand side. It's fairly narrow. I don't think an accident has happened there yet, but it's probably waiting to happen. It's not the best designed streetscape that I've seen before. And the actual Midland lane that crosses the Great Swamp is purposely narrow to try and get people to drive slower, because you're going through, there's a couple of culverts underneath it, right, and, because all the water drains underneath there, so. But there is a stop sign at the Dorset Farms end of Midland, right, or the end of whatever it is.
When you go into,
Right,
yeah.
but there's nothing on the other end where you could actually have, so, I mean, I hear their complaints. I don't doubt that some people speed there. When I use it, I mean, if two cars are passing on that, it's narrow. You have to take your time.
Well, I don't know how, I've driven it once or twice and then I biked it.
Yeah.
And,
You biked on the bike lane, though, on the bike path,
no,
right?
we were on the road.
Okay. Well, it's okay. I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah, I
Okay.
was biking on the road.
On the road, yeah.
You're allowed.
And I'm allowed, yeah. I was unable to drive fast through there because there's so many turns and it gets really narrow. But I can appreciate that there are young drivers and maybe old drivers that, or somebody who needs to get somewhere really quickly, and this is a brand-new cut-through to get from Spear to Dorset, and they buzz through.
Yeah, and
I don't know what the solution is, but
Well, is a solution some speed humps? And honestly, if that is a solution, there's probably some other roads I can think of that
Remember
could use
Public
that same
Works-
solution.
Public Works came to us.
Yes.
And presented a whole
They did.
workflow process for evaluating these types of issues.
They did, yes.
right? And I
So this should go into the
think
list.
it should get initially,
If somebody could share the postcard with staff, that would be awesome.
okay, I'll send a copy of it tomorrow. I have two. I don't know how many you all got, but.
I only got two.
Two, I got two.
yeah. But in addition to that, I'm hearing from the property management for the HOA for Cider Mill that there are folks in Cider Mill concerned about high speeds in Cider Mill, but I don't know what streets. So I know they're gonna go to Bike and Ped, I think, next.
Yeah.
And complain there.
What is the
and
name?
start
It's
that
the
process.
street that goes up to Senator Street. It's near my house, and then it goes on to Nadu Crest Drive.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that other street name is, the one that actually connects,
In Cider Mill 1?
yeah.
Oh, Summerfield?
Yeah, but Summerfield curves around. I don't know if it continues to be Summerfield, and then you
Yeah.
take a left and
No.
go up toward all the new,
If you come from Brayburn, turns into Summerfield, and then it hooks left and it goes all the way down to the cul-de-sac, that's all Summerfield.
okay, but aren't they concerned with where it turns left to go to the new development?
I don't know.
Oh,
At
okay.
this point, I don't know what, I thought it was just speeding within Cider Mill itself, because people will come up Winesap and then get on Cider Mill Drive. The problem with Cider Mill Drive is that as you're exiting the development, there is some foliage, shrubberies, and a group of mailboxes, and then right behind that is a crosswalk and a major bike path.
Yeah, I know.
And oftentimes, people have to, they're going too fast, and somebody's getting ready to come out through
Right.
there, and you don't see them, and you just have to take your time and go slow and respect the fact that people are using that bike path.
Well, again, this is a new cut-through.
Yeah.
You can get from Dorset to Heinsberg Road.
Yeah.
And, if the people who live there probably don't speed, generally speaking. They have all these cute little signs, because I walk and bike there, it's right behind my house. But it's a cut-through. In fact, some people are coming down our driveway.
No.
Yeah, that's stopped, but, yeah.
Wow.
Because at the bottom, going into Heinsberg Road, that's a terrible intersection.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And
it's
it's
not like
50
Vance-
miles an hour.
It's not aligned with Van Sicklen, right? It's
No.
No, it's down.
No,
Right.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the bike path dumps in there. My husband thinks we should put a Jersey barrier at the bottom. Well, there's no place to go. There's all these kids on bikes, and you think, oh, this is a nice little bike path, I wonder where it goes.
at the
And
end
then
of
it goes
Coord.
into Heinsberg
Can't you just
Road.
put private property at the bottom?
No, it's not, our property isn't the problem. It's where NATO Crest Drive dumps into Heinsberg Road. It's 50 miles an hour, it's a hill and a curve. And we complained to the
CCRPC or the
no,
V-Trans?
250 or the, what do you
DRB?
call it? No, not the DRB, the state,
safety, traffic
yeah, and they didn't seem to be concerned that some kid on a bike would cruise into Heinsberg Road and get hit by someone anxious to get back to Heinsberg. But anyway, I don't know exactly where the speed is, but I think it's because it's a cut-through. And it's like, oh, great, I can get to Heinsberg Road and then over to the interstate and, or the big box stores or wherever you're going, quick. No traffic lights. And not much traffic.
So we're going to send I'm happy to, I'd be curious to know if we all received, I'm assuming, the same postcards. And I'm happy to make, just pictures and send them to the council too, so you have them all. And then we can all say, yep, that's the same I got. And then what do we do?
So then we'll put them into the traffic calming criteria that we brought to you a couple of meetings ago, and they'll go on the planning list and be evaluated against other requests for speed bumps and other traffic mitigation.
So there are postal addresses on these cards, and that's just the one thing I did not get done before I left last Thursday, was write letters to these people. Has anybody been in contact with them? So will you write them to let them know, or should we reach out to let them know what the progress, I guess, that's being made on it?
So as part of that criteria, Erica Quallen is in communications with requesters, so she can certainly do that if you would like,
Yeah.
or if the council would prefer to be the conduit of that communication, that's fine too.
It makes sense for Erica.
I think it makes sense for her, because she would know the process better than my recollection.
Yeah.
And then they have a point person to connect with in the future.
Sure.
Rather than a postcard to us and we bring it to city council. So, okay.
Talking about telephone tag with the cans and the.
Right. Okay, architectural design for city center.
Yeah. So there was, some conversations, last spring about the specific, Garden Street and Market Street, and, seeking some feedback from the development community on what went into their architectural designs, the decisions that they made, and giving us feedback on our own rules. Are there things that we could do on our end to make the rules more conducive to different kinds of designs? I think variety was at least a concern that I raised. And I really hope we can follow up. Now we have a new permit in across the street, so it's going to be after that. But, I think it's really helpful for us to hear, because it could serve the purpose elsewhere. And then, I'm glad to hear that there are going to be balconies here at Catamount Run. That adds a little bit of interest to the facades.
Yeah.
So.
It's probably important as we go forward, or the mall goes forward with their redesign, to maybe have more of that conversation, so that maybe has some more interesting architecture. I mean, I don't share all your concern about Market Street, but I know lots of people are very disappointed.
I would say very disappointed. I would say there's still time to just, what can we do to help there to be more variety? Just not the same,
Right.
that this was not just, a block that was built within 5 years and everything looks the same. That
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it's built in 5 years, how can we, encourage just a little bit of, spices.
Yeah, so Paul and Alana have done a lot of thinking about that and have had some initial conversations with some of the folks who have site control currently.
Oh, good.
And so our hope was that this walking tour would kind of be the kickoff to, let's get all the council on the same page about where we're talking about, and then do that kind of listening session about the code, and then consider direction to the planning commission about code updates.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, isn't this just a matter of updating the form-based code to require some more dimensionality, some more variety?
If needed. I mean, that's what this conversation
I
would
would
be
think so.
about.
But, okay.
I think we should apply it to some of the housing developments too, but that's just me. I mean, I think a lot of them are different colors and there's, 3 designs, but it's still, when you have 150 houses and there's only 3 designs, it looks pretty similar. It might as well be row houses.
This is the design for City Place that's going up now. If you haven't seen it before, there are a couple
Can you pass down your phone?
downtown. Yeah,
Oh, downtown.
Oh, downtown, okay.
City Place.
Yeah.
So,
Was that in the Burlington Free Press?
I don't know, it was on a poster down around that area saying this is what the new design would be.
Oh, that's a photo you took.
No, it's a photo of a poster that was downtown saying this is what City Place is going to look like.
Yeah, that you took of the poster.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
No comment.
I didn't think it was built yet. I've been
No.
down there recently.
Well, the elevator,
The cruise ship at first look.
yeah,
They're gonna have more than one elevator. They'll have more than one elevator.
they have 2 elevators that they're building right now, and anyway, there's,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, that sounds like that's a good time to
Have the-
pursue that when we have our
Thank you
walk.
very
and-
much for that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
of course.
Good. All right, is there any other business? Okay, so item 12 now is going into executive session for the purpose of discussing contracts and the negotiation or securing of real estate.
I'd like to make a motion for that.
Please
I
do.
move that the council make a specific finding that premature general public knowledge of the council's discussion of contracts and the negotiating or securing of real estate purchase or lease options would clearly place the public body at a substantial disadvantage.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. And I now move that the board enter into executive session under 1 VSA 313A1A and 2 for the purpose of discussing contracts and negotiating or securing a real estate purchase or lease of, options, inviting Jesse Baker and Colin McNeil into a session with the council and Steve Luck and, yeah, that's it.
Second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we will not be coming back, so.
No, we can start here.
We're going to stay here?